Hey, what's up guys, Xander here. After years of building a community in the Italian sim racing scene, I started this new channel to finally connect with all of you on a global scale. I want to share my journey, my tips and my passion with the whole world. I'd love to have you along for the ride, so hit that subscribe button and join the family. As promised, today we're going to talk about the brand new Fanatec ClubSport Formula V3, the latest update to what is Fanatec's most iconic steering wheel ever made. Now, with the Podium VD wheelbase, which I review in detail in my last video, so make sure to check that out if you missed it, marks a massive leap forward for the ecosystem. This rim, which is objectively a fantastic piece of hardware, and I'll break it all down in a second, is also the prime example of a Fanatec that still struggles to fully shake off its old way of doing things. But let's take this step by step. To really understand this rim, we have to look at how split the sim racing market is right now. On one side, you've got the PC market, a massive user base, but absolute cutthroat competition in terms of price to performance. On the other side, you've got the console market, smaller in sheer numbers, but far too lucrative for any brand to ignore. And here is the kicker, because the value proposition of this V3 changes drastically depending on which side of the fence you race on. But before we dive deeper into all of that, drop a quick like and smash the hype button to help this tiny newborn channel fight the YouTube algorithm. And let's see what Fanatec actually changed under the hood. Design-wise, Fanatec kept the same iconic silhouette they've been using for nearly 15 years, but they have surgically addressed almost every historic flaw of the V2.5. First up, the diameter has jumped from 27 to 29 centimeters. Now, 2 extra centimeters might not sound like a lot on paper, but on track? Well, it completely transforms the lever arm, especially if you are using an high torque wheelbase. It opens this rim up to GT cars and prototypes, and trust me, your shoulders will thank you during those grueling endurance stints. That larger footprint also gave Fanatec space to completely overhaul the display. Say goodbye to that microscopic 1-inch screen. We now have a crisp 2.7-inch OLED dash supporting ITM, which stands for Intelligent Telemetry Mode. You get 5 different pages to track lap times, tire temps, fuel load and so on, and everything is right in your line of sight. On top of that, the thumb encoders, which were heavily criticized on the V2.5 for feeling mushy, now feature proper mechanical resistance, sharp tactile clicks, and an integrated push-button function giving you 2 extra inputs right at your thumbs. But now let's talk about what's missing here, in a good way. Remember those tiny rumble motors inside the V2.5 grips that simulated ABS and lockups? Gone. Completely removed. Why? Because the V3 is natively built to work in synergy with Fanatec's new full force protocol. I talked about that in my last video. Vibrations now translate directly through the steering shaft with infinitely higher fidelity, making those old grip motors completely obsolete. Plus, the V3 comes with standard rock-solid QR2 wheel side pre-installed straight out of the box. And obviously on the back we have also the magnetic shifter paddles. As for the grips themselves, the V2.5 offered either Alcantara, which degrades if you look at it wrong, or smooth rubber. The V3 features perforated leather grips that are crucially easily replaceable by the user when they eventually wear down. Furthermore, the front carbon plate is a solid 5mm thick, and the internal structure has been stiffened up to deliver a much crisper, punchy, tactile feedback across all 11 front buttons. So these are substantial quality life improvements, but does it justify upgrading if you already own a V2.5? Honestly, no. This isn't a revolutionary leap. It's a smart mid-cycle refresh design to keep the product relevant and sellable at the same price point years down the line. And that price tag, by the way, sits at exactly $350. And this brings us back to that PC versus console divide. This steering wheel is compatible with PC and PlayStation, and it's crystal clear to me that the ClubSport Formula V3 was engineered primarily with the PlayStation ecosystem in mind. Because if you race on PS5, I'll give it to you straight, at $350 there is literally no better GT or Formula wheel on the market in terms of price to performance for PlayStation users. However, if you are strictly on PC, the conversation changes completely. In the $300 to $400 bracket, the past 2 years have seen a flood of formidable competitors offering full-color dashboard, backlit buttons and incredibly deep telemetry software. Sure, Fanatec make the screen bigger on the V3, but it's still monochrome. It still looks a bit dated, and you can't customize the layouts beyond the preset pages. There is still no button backlighting in 2026. And when you factor in Fanatec's closed ecosystem, which makes using this RIM on a third-party wheelbase a pain, it becomes really tough to recommend solely for PC racers unless you are already locked into their hardware ecosystem. Before we wrap things up with my final verdict, let's quick jump into the software side, because there are a few very interesting tweaks you need to know about. Here we are inside the Fanatec app. Let's jump straight into the dedicated wheel section, which is split into 3 main tabs. Starting off with the tuning tab, this is where you map the exact behavior of your thumb encoders. By default, you can run them as standard encoders, meaning they just increment or decrement exactly like tuning the volume knob on your car stereo. Beyond that, you have constant and pulse mode, which converts them into true 12 positions rotary switches, matching the physical numbers 1 through 12 printed right on the wheel face. And finally, the automatic mode lets the wheel decide dynamically whether to treat those switches as encoders or rotaries depending on the sim you're running. Right below that, we got the testing buttons for the OLED display, as well as the RPM shift lights and telemetry LEDs. These side LEDs aren't just for show either. You can map them as a dedicated flag box or set them up as a real-time indicators for ABS engagement, traction control activation, or even lock-up alerts when you flat spot a tire. Quickly jumping over to the LED tab, this one is super straightforward. Here you can fully customize the color profile for every single LED and define the exact telemetry triggers that fire them off during a stint. Now on to the main event, ITM or Intelligent Telemetry mode. In this menu you can select which live dashboard screen gets displayed on the wheel. You've got 5 dedicated pages plus a legacy mode, each giving you different data layouts covering lap times, current position, gear indicator, speed indicator, fuel management and so on. You simply pick up your go-to layout and hit the star icon to set it as your default primary dash. Here is where it gets really smart though. If you toggle the ITM switch on, the wheel reads live telemetry straight from the simulator and generates real-time pop-up alerts. For example, if your oil temps spike past a custom limit you set in the software, the display will temporarily override your main dash, popping up a warning for a set number of seconds to tell you to back off. And the same goes for tire temps, track flags or fuel levels. You can set a custom threshold, like 5 liters, and the dash will actively ping you the second you hit reserve. Finally, using the physical tuning button directly onto the wheel face, you can cycle through up to 5 stored presets on the fly. That means you can tweak your force feedback balance, brake mapping, or angle of rotation on the fly without ever having to pause your session or alt-tab into Fanatec app. At the end of the day, the dash is sharp, clear and perfectly readable, but let's be real. Having a monochrome white on black graphics on a display in 2026 just feels retro and honestly a bit outdated for a modern product. Looking at the V3 as a direct evolution of its predecessor, it is undeniably a great piece of hardware. But the big question here in 2026 is, did it really make sense to double down on the ClubSport Formula frame once again? Or was it time to retire this legacy design and build something truly next-gen to blow the PC competition out of the water? Fanatec's problem has never been the build quality. This wheel, guys, feels rock solid and it's very good. The real challenge is the aggressive price-to-performance ratio from the rival brands, which Fanatec simply can't afford to ignore anymore if they don't want to end up stranded on console island. But now let me know, guys, what do you think about it? Is the V3 an instant buy for your rig, or are you waiting for a true next level wheel by Fanatec? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!